Good evening, everyone. It is Sunday night, which can only mean it's the last and final word on the weekend's action. And what a weekend it has been. A pivotal weekend, maybe not in obviously any title race, but in the title to stay in the Premier League between the four-horse race that it now is of Southampton, Ipswich, Leicester and Wolverhampton. It was definitely a massive weekend for Wolves. We're going to be talking all about that, of course. The talking points from the game, the man of the match, the ratings, a look at the relegation battle. Because it was all about the cherries, and I had a cherry bakewell yesterday. We're going to be asking everyone later in the show their favourite cake. We're going to be looking ahead to Fulham and, of course, the last 16 because we go back to Bournemouth next week. And finally, you're going to be able to ask your questions of the panel. I'm delighted to be joined straight off by the hostess with the mostess. It's Chelsea. How you doing, Chelsea?
Hi, Dave. Hi, everybody.
Chelsea, look, first of all, mate, I was thinking about you on the match reaction yesterday after the game. You've suffered so long doing these watch-alongs. And finally, yesterday, you had joy all the way through. A red card sending off for the opposition. We had, mind you, that hasn't ended in joy before now, has it? Because we've ended up getting down to 10 ourselves. A goal again for Matheus Cunha, and 3 points on the South Coast, and everyone else losing. Chelsea, you know, that smile on your face towards the end, even though it was stressful, the relief was palpable, wasn't it?
It was. I think the first half was really exciting. I think like the first 5 to 7 minutes, unsurprising, we were a bit nervy and Bournemouth came out really well. And then we got a really good stronghold on the game, I thought. And the first half was really exciting. And I'm glad that we took that 1-0 lead. But the second half, I've never felt so anxious, especially in the last 15 minutes. Everyone in the chat was just saying how nervous they all were. But it was really good to see us get it over the line, and you could see the confidence that they lacked. It was just hard for them to get it over the line, but luckily we did, and also results went our way. So it was a perfect weekend.
A perfect weekend. Joining us again tonight, which is great. I saw him down at the game yesterday. It is the man, the myth, the legend. It is the voice of reason. It's Jack. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you?
Oh, mate, I think we're all in a much, much better place than we were a few weeks ago. And I think the weekend has certainly put a bit of more of a skip in our step. But performances, other than the Chelsea game, generally have been a lot better anyway, haven't they, Jack?
No, absolutely. I think we've really sort of picked up since Vitor came in. And I think, I said to you earlier, didn't I? I think this weekend feels pivotal with the results going the way that they did. All of a sudden, that gap, 5 points doesn't sound a lot, but when teams are struggling to win, it is a big gap now, and we've really got an opportunity to kind of put our foot down and pull away.
Absolutely. Loads of people saying evening to the voice of reason. Absolutely. Well, we're going to get stuck into all of this. I'm really delighted as well to be joined by the next Ant and Deck. You will know them here on the channel as Hoops and Howler. How are you doing?
Good evening from both of us. How you doing, Dave?
Absolutely brilliant. Now, if you're listening to this back on the podcast, Howler is a big stuffed wolf that changes his kit, and he's got a scarf on there, hasn't he? From I think from where?
Well, yeah, that scarf's from Belgium actually. So many years ago, I don't know if people remember, but we played Charleroi in Belgium. I think it was part of the Mungibia deal, and it was an interesting pre-season tour, and that's a scarf from there, which is just randomly adorned on his top. He probably needs a new kit, actually, to be fair. So, but
mate, yeah. I'm looking at Howler. I know people might say this is really strange, being he's a stuffed toy, but you can really tell when he's happy and he's not, and he looks full of joy, mate. He looks like he's had a couple of whiskeys and he's in a really happy place.
Yeah, I think the last time we were both on, I'm still, why am I keeping this? We were both on. We were probably in a lot worse a place, weren't we? So yeah, as Jack just referenced there, 5 points is massive. I'm really relaxed about us now this season. I'm really
as relaxed as Howler.
Yeah, I think we're both sort of enjoying a little bit of a glow and a high, because although there's a lot of work to do, 5 point difference with some of these games we've got coming up and the recent performances, then we've got a lot to be positive about what's been a pretty grim season. So we're in good spirits.
Mate, I've got to tell you, I've got a little bit of a tear coming down. He says, I don't know, like we're talking about as the both of you as you are. I have actually got a few little laugh tears. Just Matt, thank you very much for the super chat, mate. I much appreciate that. Obviously, it helps the channel if you can put a super chat or you become a member. Matt says, Dave, great result. I wonder if you can say hello to my dad, Michael Rich. He's a massive fan. Hi, Michael Rich. I hope you're doing. Job done. Big shout out. Fantastic. Before we get any further, I, of course, need to say a big, massive thank you to the wonderful, amazing people at Creation Wolf for powering tonight's show. They deliver the industry's and latest and most advanced digital solutions, taking your brand and online presence and digital capability to the next level. You can find their link to their website in the description below, or just type in creationwolf.com and you'll be able to find them. But thanks for the continued support, because they do give us a lot of support. And I know there's a few businesses that are working with them as well, and they're helping out with their brands as well. So, look, let's get stuck into it. Let's start with you, Jack. You were there yesterday. What are your takeaways from the match?
I think we'll perhaps won't realise how big a result that is until a few weeks' time. I actually thought we played really, really well yesterday. I understand a lot of the sort of, we made a meal of it second half. We did. We had opportunities to kill the game at 2-0. I think at 2-0, that would have been the game. But we saw the other week against Arsenal where we had a man advantage and we weren't quite sure whether to stick or twist. And we ended up getting caught and lost the game. And we all felt really, really deflated because it was a missed opportunity. Now, we've all got a degree in hindsight, of course we have. But if we'd have gone gung-ho in that second half to get that second goal and got caught on the break, because let's not forget Bournemouth are a good team this year, and if they'd have got back into it for a point, we'd have been sat here. And a 1-1 draw against 10 men doesn't feel like a great result.
No.
So I think fair play to the players who actually stuck in and said, we've got a lead here. Let's hang on to it. If the opportunity arises to get the second goal, then let's try and take it. And we did. And there's a couple of chances. I mean, Munetzi's chance was a big, big opportunity.
I don't know about you. I was expecting the net to bulge then.
Yeah.
It was a great move, that was. And then when it went past, you're like, I always missed another one.
Yeah, and then I think when Pedro Lima came on, he created 2 or 3 good opportunities.
He had a good shot as well, right at the end.
Yeah. But other than that, I thought we actually controlled it really, really well. I mean, you've gone away from home to a team that are 5th in the table. Okay, they've got a player less, but can you tell me a save that Sarr had to make in the second half? We completely shut that game down.
Yeah.
And it was partly Pereira's game management and the substitutions, and it was the players taking a bit of responsibility. I think Chelsea referenced it earlier on. There's a little bit of nervousness in the squad still because they understand the significance of the result. And being 1-0 up away from home is massive when you're in the relegation battle. And so there is that stick or twist. Do we go for the second goal? Do we have what we hold and trying to stick at it? And I thought we got a little bit caught at times, trying to work out how we best to sort of see the game out. But ultimately, I thought we did it reasonably well. And I thought that it feels like a big, big weekend because obviously Ipswich, Southampton and Leicester all shipped 4 goals as well, didn't they? So, you've also got that massive goal difference advantage, which is worth an extra point effectively. So we're now more or less 6 points clear. And when those teams have only won 3 or 4 games all season, to expect them to win 2 more games than you do across the final 12, it's starting to become a bit of a big ask for those guys. And we've now got an opportunity with some good fixtures coming up to perhaps put our foot down and start to sort of make that gap a little bit bigger.
Absolutely. And like you make the point, not only is the goal difference better, but the goals scored is better as well. And I've been sort of saying, like, through this last period of fixtures, if we can come out of these fixtures not 4, 5, 6 points behind, excuse me, sneeze, then we'll be in a very, very strong position. And coming out now, sort of like Bournemouth was not an easy game. I think they'd lost 1 in the last 16. I think Bournemouth, they hadn't lost a lot, and they're scoring goals for fun. They've got the third highest amount of XG or something like that. There's third highest amount of shots. And I know there's a few Bournemouth fans that's come on to both our reaction and the vlog, and they've been moaning about the red card and everything. But it makes me laugh, really, because when they come on and they moan about that, I'm thinking we've had the worst with VAR. We had Stuart Atwell on VAR. I nearly fell over when he sent the referee to the monitor, Jack.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you watch the tackle back, and I don't think the player's got a lot to complain about. I think when you lunge in like he did, you don't know where you're going to make contact with the opponent. You don't know whether you're going to catch him on the boot, on the ankle, on the shin, it's that kind of thing, isn't it? And it's been a long time now in football where that kind of tackle is a red card tackle. And I understand the argument. He got the ball first and his foot rolls up off the ball. But, I think if it was the other way around and our player had done that to the Bournemouth player, they would have said, "Oh, that should have been a red card." So, I
actually don't even think he had the control of the ball. I think he went for the ball, but he never hit the ball full. He hit the top of the ball and went over it. He might have touched the ball, but he never had control of the ball. And then he went into his ankle, and it's a high, by the let law. There's no intent. No one's saying there's any intent.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But it's a red. And we've seen Gomez go off for something similar to that a couple of times this year. So, the Bournemouth fans can cry all they want, to be honest. But, at the end of the day, it was a red.
Yeah, and even at 11v11, we were playing well. We had some good chances, so it wasn't as if they were absolutely murdering us at 11v11 and then the red card completely changed the game. I don't think it did. It obviously made their job a bit trickier, and there's a period of adjustment for both teams. They have to kind of reshape, and we have to work out how they've reshaped and where the spaces might be now. But at 11v11, we were growing into the game. I mean, we hit the post, didn't we? And Bellegarde had a good shot save.
Good save from the keeper, that was.
Yeah, absolutely. So
you had a similar attempt to the one he scored against Liverpool as well. Chelsea, what was your take on the red card? And, I thought the first sort of five minutes or so were a little bit on the back foot, and then we grew into the game and started to take control. And then, obviously, the red card. And Cunha scores just straight after as well. What's your take of it?
I think the way we started, I absolutely agree with you. The first 5 to 7 minutes, we were nervy, but we're playing away from home against a team that's in form, and we've also had some difficult results, so it was expected to be nervy. I definitely think that we started to grow into the game. Cunha was doing well. Semedo was working hard. Bellegarde was working hard. Manetzi, yes, he wasn't finishing, but he was getting in the right positions, trying his very best. And when he went into midfield in the second half, he really showed his quality. But it's a red card, no question. The studs are showing it's on his ankle. If it was the other way round, and Gomez, I remember in the second half, had a challenge that if it was maybe 1 or 2 seconds a bit late, it could have looked very similar to the challenge before that got the red card. So, and if Gomez gone off and did a similar one, that's absolutely fine with me. I think it was a red. And obviously, if you're a fan of a different club, you may feel slightly differently. But I do believe it was a red card. In the second half, again, Jack made a really good point about how to tackle a game. And I think sometimes when people think going down to 10 men is better for the team with the advantage, sometimes it's not an advantage to your team because you don't know how you're going to play it Bournemouth are very expressive and they do really well with the ball, and they had some really good possession in the second half. And we had to figure out a way of how to play it and trying to balance going forward and trying to hold our defensive play as well. But in the second half, well, the one thing I'll say is it's the confidence that's been built from it. We saw some good moments from Bellegarde kind of pushing forward. Manetti's getting into the right positions. His finishing was all over the place. I think the main one, I think I compared him to Diana Ross in 1994. Like, how did you miss it? But at least he's getting in the right positions. And as long as he's been in those positions, those goals will come. And when that first goal comes in, I'm sure he will get more involved. I think the main thing for us moving forward as a team is that we need to find a way to not just rely on Cunha for the goals. And I think that's the only concern we can have as a Wolves team, as Wolves fans, is that we're still relying on one player to get us those goals. And hopefully over a period of time, we'll have some more people stepping in those positions and getting those goals for us. But I think it's a massive result. 5 points clear of the relegation zone. The teams below us are worse, in my opinion, and I think we're strong enough to survive in the Premier League. I think we've got the right manager who's got that right atmosphere of the team moving forward. And I think if you're looking at the fixtures we've got coming forward, you've got Fulham, you've got Everton, you've got Southampton. These are winnable games for Wolves, or at least getting a draw. So I feel like over the next couple of weeks, as Jack said, this game is going to be much bigger than we really thought it might have been at the time, because it could lead to some snowball of consecutive wins and draws over the next 3 to 4 games. And then we're looking a lot more of a comfortable position. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Well, we'll see. To be honest, I think it's a pivotal and a huge win, especially in the context of the other results. I thought I was worried about Brentford at Leicester, but Leicester were useless. I thought Spursy might be very Spursy, as they have been, but they got the job done at Ipswich, because I thought Ipswich might get something out of that, but they didn't. And then we've gone and done a job at Bournemouth, at a place where actually we've never lost in the Premier League. We've got a really good record at the Vitality Stadium, and we've seen Crystal Palace put a string of few wins together and get out of it. We've seen Everton do that, and two out the other 4 are going to do that. You put like a couple of results together and there's a gap, and the fact that we're now 5 points clear, and we've got Fulham. Fulham are a good side, but like, we're at home. It's if we can back that up with another win, or I said if we get 4 points out of these sort of 2 games, that would be great. But if we can get another win and the other teams don't pick up anything, it'll be an almost insurmountable psychological gap. Their heads will go, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I remember last season, before we got to that Newcastle game and we started to get those injuries, at that little moment last season, we were winning so often that a lot of the time we were winning games that we didn't even deserve to win in the last few games before we lost against Newcastle. And I think that's what Wolves need. They need to get into a winning mentality again, and you start winning games that you wouldn't normally win. And we can start that with Bournemouth. And then we've got 2 home games moving forward, apart from the FA Cup game. We've got the team behind us. You've got the fans behind you as well. So there's no reason why we can't get at least 6 points or even 4 points at home, because we need to get those home results. And I feel like they're the right teams for us to play at the moment. Of course, there's no easy team in the Premier League to beat, but we need to try and put ourselves in that mindset of we are capable of beating them. And as long as we keep our main players fit, as long as we keep Cunha, Bellegarde's working off, Manetti starts scoring, we're in a good position. And we try and be positive about it.
Absolutely. Now, Hoops, your thoughts on that? But do you think, like, with the uncertainty of the January windows finally behind us, with who's coming, who's going, who we got bringing in and stuff like that, the performances under Vitor Pereira in terms of like the identity and how he's trying to look us play the second half against Liverpool gave a lot of belief. I think, you know, you as fans, you think we took the game to Liverpool for the whole of that second half. They, for the first time since 2017, they'd ever had a shot on target in a half at home. They've just turned over Man City today. And then we've gone and got this. Do you think belief and confidence in what the manager's doing, the identity he's trying to achieve, that they're all buying it, because they look like they're a team again rather than a bunch of individuals? Look like they understand what they're trying to do and they're fighting. And like what Jack said, it wasn't. It was a nervy second half yesterday because I was stressed out, thinking, oh, 1-0, we missed a couple of chances. Are we going to pay for it again? We didn't. The relief at the end was fantastic. And then you see the other results, and we're 5 points clear. All of a sudden, you're starting to think, okay, we're going to get out of this mess. And there's a lot, and the fans are starting to believe again. And I thought the away end wasn't so great against Liverpool. It was freezing, and but yesterday everyone was kind of in party mood. Yesterday it was a brilliant atmosphere in the away end. What's your takeaways from all of what Chelsea and Jack said, and what would you like to add?
Yeah, and I think just coming back on your point on identity, I think, it wasn't so long ago that these players were fighting with each other, in full view of the TV cameras, and there appeared to be a little bit of a toxicity within the group. So I feel that Vitor's come in, he's been very assertive. We've addressed the main issues in the January transfer window. I mean, if you look at our goal return even prior to January, it was very good. Scoring goals has really not been an issue for us this season. Obviously, it's been conceding. And where I had my concerns with the side is that we looked very fragile. The number of set pieces, the records that we were breaking in terms of how many we conceded, we looked so fragile. And obviously, a lot of work's been done on that, and also in personnel. Obviously, Agbadou was missing recently, but we know it as he's come in. He's been the dominant centre half that we want, who's kind of bossed our penalty area, so that's been huge. So I think if you look at the fact Manetz is coming as well, perhaps people were thinking, actually, do we need another centre midfielder? But he's brought a centre midfielder with a completely different profile to anybody else within the club.
Wolves fans, what he said.
Wolves fans will make comparisons with, the type of player that, Dendoncker was appearing in boxes, or Dave Edwards, for example. We haven't had that type of player that's give us that sort of energy and a sort of box to box. So I think that's helped. So personnel has changed, identity is massive, and that's led by the manager. And it does feel a very, very united dressing room. But ultimately, what makes the dressing room united is performances that we saw the weekend, where yes, we're a man ahead, but as Chelsea rightly says, that can be a difficult conundrum against a very, very good Bournemouth side, and to see that game through, it's only going to have a massive impact. But I think, honestly, Lamina departing the club and a new captain on board, a new fresh approach. We're not changing our goalkeeper every week. These are things which are making a big difference. So if we're reflective, it just feels a more united base on and off the pitch. And that's feeding into it, because to your point, we know individually these players are talented. We know, when we spoke, we've waxed lyrical about the fact that we've got Andre and we've got Gomez and we've got Cunha, we've got a Brazilian midfield, and we've talked about that. But we appear to have a very average defensive unit. However, yes, personnel has changed, but people like Santi Bueno, as for me, is improved on balance. It's not perfect. So again, I think that has to be perhaps the work that's been done on the training ground. I don't know about you, but when we kind of have a free kick against us or a corner, I don't go, oh my God, like it did at a period of time. So that's massive. These things are huge, really. So that has to come down to the coaching staff ultimately, a fresh approach, a fresh mindset, and I'm of the belief that it's a more happier camp, and I hope that we can then pick up the wins that we need. And I don't actually think we need that many, and that's more to do with the fact of those below us than us.
How many do you think we need, Hoops?
I just think a few wins really will do it. Literally 3 or 4 wins might be sufficient, which sounds crazy. But to Jack's point, if you look at the return of, let's exclude Southampton, if we're honest, but if we look at the return of Leicester and Ipswich, you can't see, as you say, if we go into in theory, let's call it 5.5 point with a goal difference, 6 points gap, then bettering those results. And you look at Fulham at home, what have we got? Everton, West Ham to come, and we play those 2 top sides at the bottom away from home. I don't think it'll. I think
home as well.
Yeah, it'll be a low points tally. I think that that's needed this season. But we don't want that, and let's hopefully. My thing is, these players hopefully will be playing with not the anxiety in their boots that they've had for a lot of this season, and then they can start showing what they're about. And I think what might happen, in contrast to the end of last season, we might be disappointed the season's going to run out, because I feel like the players are moving an upward, position to where we are now. So
you can get away from it, and that anxiety and pressure comes up. You can start, start to play with more freedom. But like, mate, we're still in the FA Cup as well yet, so it would be an absolutely an awful season, but be an amazing end if we can not go into the last couple of matches of the season worrying about going down and still be in the cup. Then we would turn what has been an awful, tough, divisive, stressful, angry season into what could end up being a great end to the season and new hope. Now, Hoops, just whilst I've got you on, you've got a little story, haven't we, from yesterday? Because your dad was substituted into being part of the kit room, didn't he?
Yeah, so he got the call up. So for those that aren't aware, so my dad works in the kit department for the academy. So generally he works for the 23s and the other age groups. But there was an opportunity to be involved with the first team set up yesterday, and he's also going to be helping out in the kit department for the cup fixture and Southampton, I believe, as well. So I guess the context of it really, my dad got me into Wolves, he won't mind me saying he's in his 70s now, so he's been a Wolves supporter 60 odd years. He sort of retired from his sort of full-time job. Has always loved football. People all know him. He was a decent footballer at non-league level, went into physiotherapy. He's done every sort of role that you can do in football, and then he's grown in the last years to really have a love and a passion for being part of the kit department. And I guess as a lifelong fan, although it's his job, to have that opportunity to be in the sacred dressing room yesterday was massive for him, really. So, I was personally really...
Well, I've got a picture here on your Instagram, and there he is, you're with a young lad at the game.
So that's my nephew Logan. So Logan was with his dad yesterday and said, "Oh, I wonder if my dad will come over." And my dad was like, "Look, I've got a job to do, so I can't guarantee I can come over to you." But as luck would have it, just prior to that warm up on that picture there, I think a stray ball had gone towards the away end. My dad seized an opportunity and thought, "I'm probably not going to have this chance to have a picture with my nephew." So he managed to kind of come over and have a picture. So no, it was lovely. I spoke to him today and he was sort of full of it, and he travelled down on the Friday, got everything organised in Bournemouth Friday evening, and then came back 11 p.m. last night. So he doesn't do it as a monetary thing. He does it because he loves it. He loves contributing. He takes it seriously, as you have to do, because there's a lot involved in organising and helping prepare a Premier League football team. There's so many components that go behind it, and he's part of it, I guess. So it was a lovely moment for him, and
must have been a happy dressing room at the end.
Yeah, everybody was happy. Everybody was in good spirits. So the staff were all great with him. Obviously, a lot of the Portuguese staff were fantastic with him as well. So really chuffed for him, and he's got a season ticket next to me, so I'm waiting to see whether or not he'll be with me on Tuesday night, sit next to me, or whether I'll get a call up and be on the pitch.
I might want to keep him for luck, mate.
I know.
You might want to keep him for luck.
Well, this is it, and I think particularly the foreign coaching staff, they're very, very superstitious. So, things are done in a certain way. They want that continuity. So yeah, he may get involved again, but we shall see. But no, that was lovely. And it was I wasn't there, unfortunately, but I'm hoping to either go in the cup or go to the Southampton, because it'd be nice to kind of do that. But if not, I'd just vicariously live through him and kind of listen to his stories about what he's got up to over the weekend, and being part of the club that he loves as well. So no, it was a lovely note yesterday.
Absolutely, mate. A special moment as well, and a great experience. I don't blame you. We're going to come back in a second with everyone's man of the match performance rating and moment of the day. But first of all, let's go over stateside and hear from Wolfman Jeff.
Hey Dave, Wolfman Jeff here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Just a quick reaction. Obviously delighted with the 3 points. To be blunt, I would have been delighted with just 1 point. So getting all 3 was fantastic. Wasn't the best performance we had, but I think it was managed well. And it's a little nervy. The red card at first looked a bit iffy. And I was kind of surprised they got a yellow out of it, to be honest, when they first gave it. But then when they slowed it down and showed the different clips, you could saw where it was. I don't think there was any malice in it, and I don't think that's the reason for the red. It's just something that would be a red card. So that's fine. We had an advantage, and we've had advantages before that we didn't take advantage of. So the good thing is that we took advantage of having them going down to 10 men. Cunha goal was great. We had some good chances, and the irony is I think we played better in the first half than the second. But I think we played a little more safely in the second half. They pulled off bringing off Gomez in at the half. Made sense. He was down to a yellow, and he's that kind of player that once he starts heading in that trend, the chances of him getting a second yellow is a bit higher. So though he brings a lot to the team, it was just a safety thing. So I think they were safe substitutions, but they made sense. But I got to say, Dave, sometimes when you're up 1-0 is one of the most nerving things ever. And that was it. That second half, it just felt like on edge, like going at any minute, Bournemouth could come back, but we contained it. We controlled it. It wasn't exciting, but it was business. And so I think we took care of business. And so for that, I'm delighted. Moose is up. I think we're 5 points above Leicester and the Tractor Boys Ipswich. So that's good. So onward, upward. So let's see if we can pad a little bit more with our next match. We're following it on Tuesday. Hey, Dave, Wolfman Jeff here in Chattanooga.
Always great to hear from the Wolfman himself, without any shadow of a doubt. Always good to hear from him, and he always puts a smile on my face. And even the international fans were in happy mood yesterday. Jack, point he made there before we go on to talking about man of the match and performance rating and all that. He made a very good point there about Joe Gomez. I remember Vitor saying in a press conference he spoke to Joe when he was on the yellow card at Arsenal. We're down to 10 men and he picked up the second. This time, he took him off at half-time. Also, bearing in mind, we've got a game against Fulham on Tuesday. I think he learned some lessons from that, Jack.
He did, and I also think Vitor showed there that he's a gaffer. He's the man in charge. So Gomez let him down against Arsenal. He gave him that option. He said, you can stay on. I trust you. You can stay on. And he got sent off, didn't he? And it kind of evened the game up. And this time he said, no. I'm in charge. I'll make the decision, not you. And if you watch again yesterday, I wanted to make this point, actually, so it's quite nice it's come round to this. After the Liverpool game, he kind of called out Agbadou, didn't he? And said, if he'd have told me he felt something, I'd have took him off. Yeah. Now, yesterday, Ait Nuri and Cunha felt something, and straight away they went, I've got to come off. So quite clearly, Vitor said to the whole squad, if you feel something go tight or something not quite right, tell me and I'll get you off. And they've all took it on board. And yesterday you saw it twice. 2 players went, something's not right there. Get me off, gaffer. And that's exactly what we've needed. I think, it's not, insider information at all, but it's quite obvious that the players were ruling the roost under O'Neill. That's not the case anymore. This guy's in charge. He makes the decisions and the players play to his tune. And you can see that. I mean, I think Hoops made a great point there, about the January recruitment. We signed Agbadou, who's made a massive difference, but didn't play yesterday. Giga hasn't really kicked a ball for us yet. Munetzi's come in and had an impact. But the reason we're playing well is the difference that Vitor's made in Sarr in Doherty, in Totti, in Bellegarde, in Guedes, in Sarabia, players that just weren't doing the business under O'Neill suddenly look like different players. Bellegarde especially. I mean, where's this player been the last 18 months? That's down to coaching and that's down to management.
It's like a
yeah, 100%. And that's sometimes, you know, I don't want to turn it into a kicking Gary O'Neill while he's down kind of thing, but you can just see the difference that having a proper experienced leader in that dressing room is doing, not just to the new signings, but also to the players that were there already.
Absolutely. So on that note, mate, your Leemore Windows man of the match, your Fox at Shipley performance rating, your Parkside dental care, highlight or moment of the day that made you smile.
Man of the match was Andre. I thought he was absolutely outstanding yesterday. He was the best player on the pitch by a country mile. And, you know, he's the player. I mean, we were talking about this on the way back from the game. We talk a lot about Cunha and Ait-Nouri sort of being the ones in demand. If I was a manager of a Manchester City, a Liverpool, a Tottenham, a Chelsea, Andre is the player I'd be looking at, because he could walk into most teams in the Premier League. He is so good at what he does. He just mops up. He's always got time. He's always got space. I mean, yesterday, you know, the way that we sort of played at times, he was almost on his own as the sort of holding midfielder. But he just got on with it, and he just, every time they attacked us, he was there, snapping at heels, winning the ball back. I mean, that moment of the day was him winning a goal kick and celebrating like he just won the World Cup. And that, again, that goes back to what Chelsea and Hoops were saying 7 weeks ago, the players were fighting each other. Now they're celebrating winning a goal kick. And you can kind of go, oh, that's a bit over the top. But it just shows that they've really bought into that badge and that football club and what it actually means to everybody involved, you know. And I thought that was exactly epitomised that. And I thought his performance was absolutely fantastic. And, you know, and he kind of goes about his business very quietly. You know, Cunha gets the goals, and we talk a lot about, you know, Bellegarde and what Agbadou's done since he came in. But Andre's the glue that holds that team together for me. And I thought he was outstanding. And my performance rating was an 8. You know, to go away from home to a team that challenging for Europe, to restrict them to a couple of decent chances first half and absolutely nothing second half. Can't ask for a lot more than that. So yeah, and again, I think a pivotal win. I think if you go back to a couple of weeks ago when we played Villa, now we played at 5:30, and at 3:00 Ipswich played Southampton, and we'd all got in our head that Ipswich would beat Southampton because Southampton are bottom, whatever. And suddenly, in the space of those couple of games, that swing between us and Ipswich, what could have happened if they'd have won that, is huge. And I think yesterday is another massive psychological swing in our favour.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I feel like Ipswich are this year's Luton. They're just running out of steam. They've had a lot of momentum from the end of last season, and they've been running on that. But I just feel that now it's starting to get to them. Obviously, we've got a very important game. I think that sort of game away at Ipswich, less so at Southampton, but it's still an important game. And the game against Leicester, it's almost going to be a similar sort of, we have got to get a result from those games, like when we played Middlesbrough and Cardiff on the championship season. They were our rivals, and it kind of just, those victories basically put them out of the picture. And if we can go to Ipswich and win that game, or at least not lose it, it's going to be absolutely massive. Did you cover off all your points? I think you did, didn't you?
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely. Chelsea, same to you.
I think I said special mentions. Cunha for getting the goal. Manetti for getting in those right positions. The goals are going to come, but he's in the right positions and he's in the right part. Andre, I can't say better than what Jack said. He's a silent soldier who does his job, and he's fantastic and reminds me a little bit of Kante and how he controls that midfield. And I think he's been a massive signing for us. My man of the match was Semedo. Watching him push forwards, taking shots, getting back in his defensive positions. I've been so impressed with him all season. And when I was watching him yesterday, I just thought it was fantastic. Harry was working hard with Bellegarde. Harry was pushing forward. I couldn't fault the guy at all. For my rating, I'd give him a 7 out of 10. I think for the first half, I think we did well getting that goal, taking the initiative. Second half was a bit cagey, as expected, but I just can't push it towards that 8. I think if they got the second goal, I'll give it an 8, but I'm going to give 7 for a good performance overall. And for the moment, is it moment of the weekend or moment of the football day?
You can have moment of the weekend, mate.
I'd say, well, I went to the ballet today. I went to go see Cinderella at the ballet, and it was lovely.
I saw that. I think I saw that on your Insta story.
Yeah, it was a Christmas present. I got to go, and it was absolutely beautiful. So Wolves win. Chelsea is the ballet. Happy days.
Fantastic. Hoops and Howler.
Shall I consult? Yeah. I think, the risk of sort of copying Jack's notes, it's got to be Andre. He was that good, and again, I think 7.5, maybe 8. Yeah, he's fair. In the context of that performance, and I think you referenced earlier, was it yourself, Dave, about like Saar not having anything to do, and he hadn't, or was it Jack? Sorry, other than I think the first half where they had that one shot. So that's testament, to how good they were, really. So I would Semedo as well. I think absolutely on with Chelsea deserves a mention. Just a general mention as well. He's took his captaincy on. It's not easy to change your captains mid-season, particularly after what I would call a very influential captain in Mario, and he's done that in his own way. Kind of not being as dramatic, shall we say, as Mario could be, and he's done it by his performances as well. And he was unfortunate that he didn't get a goal yesterday. So I think he's led by example, which is what you want your captain to do. His performances have been brilliant, but I agree. I think Andre just controlled the game yesterday. It was a joy to watch him. What he did. He did the ugly stuff well, didn't he? So that was great. In terms of a moment, the personal moment I shared earlier regarding my dad, I guess, is massive for me. But in the context of, those final scores coming in, I do think this is a very defining weekend. And I think that's a huge moment in the course of this season, because psychologically, that's a hell of an advantage that we've got. I saw some notes, and I think Chris Humphries was saying we're not out of the woods yet. I agree, but we're not far out, if I'm honest, because really I'm not expecting too much out of the others below us. I think at one point I thought Ipswich would be more galvanised. I thought they would be more together as a unit, whereas we were under McKenna, and because they've been with each other for a long time. But I think they're running out of steam, and we're picking up steam. So
absolutely. And I just want to make the point that if you're going to spam the same message, because there's someone we have got a new admin, Merv, and we've got Emma who's thingy. If you're just going to keep spamming, you'll automatically just get deleted. So if you want to join in the conversation in the chat and make some points, that's great. But if you spam, it'll just get deleted, because the algorithms will pick it up, all the things. We just don't want people spamming, because that's not what we're about. Joining the conversation, but spamming the same message we won't tolerate. So yeah, absolutely, mate. Continuing on.
Sorry, Dave, in terms of...
Yeah, so the relegation battle now. So, I mean,
I do, honestly, I do think we're okay. I don't think you can get arrogant. I get it, and football's fluid and things can change. But I think when you look at what we've addressed in the window, you look at our recent form, I just feel that we've just got far too much. I'm not one to always hang up on fixtures, because, fixtures can be a certain way, but, you can go against the form book. However, I think of memory, I think we've got maybe 7 at home, and I think the other 2 below us have got 5. That's quite a big consideration in itself as well. So yeah, I think we'll be okay. I really do. I might have a different conversation on Wednesday if Fulham get something, but I still really believe that there's just so many reasons to be positive, and I'm not just being glass half full for the sake of it. We can see it. We can see it in the performances, can't we? There's a real chink of hope now that we can maybe salvage this season. So I expect There's a bit of a gap, isn't there, between us and the sides above? Is it West Ham next above us? Sorry. So,
8 points, yeah, at the moment.
yeah. So, I'm not going to suggest that we're going to climb too much, but I think that gap will probably deepen between us and the bottom three.
Jack, do you sort of have that same sort of feeling?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I said at the start of the season that I thought the 3 teams that came up would go back down. I just think that gap now is starting to become quite difficult to bridge. I mean, I think, Nottingham Forest did it a couple of years ago by basically spending more money than they were allowed to. So if you're going to play by the rules as a championship side coming up, you're always going to struggle. And yeah, I mean, I think we've got to kind of remember that it's still a pretty rubbish season. Yes, we look like we're going to stay up, and we should be applauding the job that Vitor has done so far in salvaging the wreckage of the season, and I do think we'll start to sort of pull clear a little bit, and perhaps that gap will be more than 5 points by the end of the season. But yeah, I think the 3 teams that have come up, they've got spirit and they'll work hard, but there's no hiding place in the Premier League. If you're not good enough, you will get found out. And I think, unfortunately, for those 3 sides particularly, I think they've been found out quite regularly this season. I mean, I think I watched Match of the Day last night. I only ever watch it when we win. So, I think the last time I watched it, Dazzling was on it. So it's been a while. But yeah, and you watch the Ipswich highlights and they started really well and they had some good chances, but didn't take the chances. And we all know from experience, you don't take your chances in the Premier League, you get punished. And that's exactly what Tottenham did to them. And I can kind of see the pattern emerging now as they get more and more desperate as well to try and claw back the points. They'll be a little bit more open and they might well get picked off by some of the teams, because I take Hoops' point absolutely about fixtures, but we've played 7 of the top 8 now in our sort of second half of the season. So we've got a lot of teams that are sort of in the bottom, so they're a bit inconsistent, or that they've had a bit of a poor season. So whereas those guys, the Ipswiches, the Leicesters, they've still got a lot of those teams to play. So the fixtures are kind of in our favour a little bit as well. But it's up to us to take advantage.
Yeah. Chelsea, your thoughts on the relegation battle, where we are 12 games out? Nothing is set, of course. But what's your gut feeling at this point?
I'd say the second, obviously, what Hoops and Jack have said, I think, like, West Ham, of course, they're on 30 points, we're on 22. I don't think we're going to go past them unless West Ham collapse themselves. But I do think that we have a strong enough team. I think we've got a good atmosphere at the moment. I think the players are playing for the manager. And in comparison with the teams below us, they are the obvious 3 who should be going down, respectively. Looking at the games we have left, we've got a lot of games at home. We've got games at home that we should be winning. I mean, we've got Fulham, Everton, Southampton, then West Ham, Ipswich. It's not till the 12th of April that we have Spurs and Man United back-to-back. Those games at home, there should be no excuses. We're going for 3 points at home against these teams. Yes, we might fall to 1 as we go through, but we need to use that home advantage. And the Molineux is going to be a massive role for us in making sure that we get those points, because as long as the team is playing well, the Molineux will be behind them 100%. And I think that having that many games at home, having games that are winnable, I think we're going to be absolutely fine. Absolutely
fantastic. Matthew Pauls has sent a super chat. Thank you, everything, Matthew. He says, good evening, all. Cunha is getting me emotional every weekend. His passion is the closest to a certain number 8. We all adore a huge 3 points. I love that. We're going to come back in a second. We're going to have a little bit of fun before we look ahead to Fulham and the FA Cup, and then your questions. So in the chat, we'll also just talk about this next section. We're going to be looking at everyone's favourite cake, as we had the cherries at the weekend. So I'm going to ask everyone to put your favourite cakes in there. Just a little bit of light-hearted fun. And whilst you do that, and before I come back, I do want to say, just let you know that against in Wolverhampton, in their sports bar, and there's a lot of new work being done there. At each home game, if you show your match day ticket from 12 midday until 5 hours after kickoff, you get 25% off food and drink there. And there's quite a good range from curries to burgers, fish and chips. There's all sorts there, and they've got really nice, comfortable seats. They have all the matches on as well, so they've got a lovely little area. You have to be 18 and above to get in. And the other thing that I want to make you aware of is this incredible competition. If you do go in and you spend £5 or more on a main meal, you could be joining us for corporate hospitality at the Wolves versus Spurs game. So you'll be joining me and Magic Moss for a meal before the game and during half time and after, and on the halfway line watching Wolves versus Spurs, or myself and the producer Emma in the box at Manchester United at Old Trafford away from the Man United versus Wolves game. The draw will be the end of March. All you have to do is go in and have a main meal, which you can do anytime. Doesn't have to be match days, but you do get 25% off on a match day. And you will be able to be entered into the draw, and we'll be drawing that at the end of March. We've done a couple earlier on this season. The people that went absolutely loved it. So get yourself down and enjoy the hospitality at Ghent in Wolverhampton. Right then. There we go. Didn't want to take hoops off there. Right then, Chelsea, let's go with you first. Your favourite cake and why?
Oh, God. Lemon drizzle cake, because it wakes you up after you've had a main meal. Simple as that. I do
like a bit of little lemon drizzle. Pamela's going, she loves a coffee cake. H is going, he likes his chutney. Pink Panther's going for a carrot cake. Stephen Perry likes cream pie, he says. Eccles cake. And JH just likes any cake as long as it's big. Liam likes the thing. Sponsored by Coke. We do like that sort of tea cake. Battenberg. What about you? What do you like, Hoops? And what does Howler go for?
I haven't seen him with much cake. I have to have that conversation with him. I've got to say, similar to Chelsea, I do like a lemon drizzle cake. I do. So yeah, that would probably be up there if I was to kind of have a nice sort of, I don't know, cappuccino, nice coffee, and have a little cake with it. That would be quite nice. Or just, can you call it cake, like a chocolate eclair maybe as well, maybe, nice, or anything like that, or some sort of donuts or waffles, anything that kind of way. But if it's specifically categorized as a cake, then yeah, I'm going to go with lemon drizzle as well as probably my favorite.
Absolutely. We've got another one that's Liam's going for a Victoria sponge. Jamie likes his cheesecake, but the big question is, what does the voice of reason like? What cake? Come on, Jack.
I've forgotten the name of them now. They're like the Portuguese
tarts,
custard ones. Yeah.
Oh, pastel de natas.
That's the one.
Hoops. Well, I think actually Howler. He went.
I think Howler
got in his ear there and told him.
It went to Stockley Park, and Howler's got the answer. Yeah.
They're very nice, Jack. Actually, aren't they? They are very nice.
They are. So that's just a little bit of light-hearted fun. Right then, looking ahead to Fulham now, and then we're going to talk about the FA Cup before we get to questions answered. I'll kick off first of all I'll go to Hoops and Howler, because Howler's waving and saying he wants to have a word about this. Fulham at the week on Tuesday, they're coming thick and fast. Off the back of that win against Bournemouth, Raul Jimenez returns. Adama Traore, Fulham going well, although they did have a bit of a blip at the weekend against Palace. They've also got aspirations of still qualifying for Europe. What is your thought, expectations, and score prediction for that one?
So yeah, after a good win, and as I've said, to be positive, I'm going to go with Jimenez hat-trick. No, I'm going to say I think we'll win 2-1. I agree, Fulham are a good side. I've not seen a lot of them this season, but we've got players, of course, that we're familiar with. There's not just Traore and Jimenez; they've got other decent players as well. They're a steady Premiership side, aren't they, Fulham? But I think with where we're at and this confidence we've got, if we get off to a good start, then my prediction would be a 2-1 win. I'm going to say that Larson gets a goal, and maybe Menezzi does. I say finally, he's only just joined us.
Everyone wants Menezzi to score.
I know, and it feels like crazy to say. I mean, he's only had a couple of games, but within that frame, he's had a hat trick. That'd be lovely. Let's see if he gets a goal. 2-1 would be my prediction, which seems to be quite popular in the chat as well.
It does. There's quite a few people gone with that. Chelsea.
I think playing at home, we got some momentum going from the last game. I agree with Hoops. I'd say 2-1.
2-1. Jack.
I think it'll be a tight game. When we beat them 4-1 earlier on in the season, that probably didn't necessarily reflect the fact that the game was quite tight. So I think we might nick it 1-0. We tend to struggle sort of the midweeks, don't we? You know, the attendance tends to dip a little bit, and you know, I think we need to kind of steel ourselves a little bit. It's a massive game. Every game we have now, because of this little gap we've got, becomes a big opportunity. And I think we've all got to kind of just take a deep breath and kind of turn up on Tuesday and make it a big occasion, a big game and a big atmosphere. And that should lift those players, and we should be able to kind of get over the line. So I'll go a long way around the answer. I'll go 1-0 Wolves.
Absolutely fantastic. Now, whilst we're talking about this, the FA Cup is going to come round next week. We're going to be facing AFC Bournemouth again, a team, Bournemouth, who have got aspirations of Europe. Another team that probably is looking at where they are in the table and thinking, you know what, we're at home. We've got a chance of getting through to the quarterfinal. They will have lost to us last week. A lot of people are asking me, and even on the day, Dave, win the league game or win the cup game? And I'm going, there ain't a choice. We have to win both. Why can't we win both? I'm not picking one or the other. I want to win both. And the irony is we've been drawn away every round to a team beginning with the letter B. So I'm hoping we get the same result again. What's your thoughts ahead of this cup run? I think if Wolves can win at Fulham, you know, and get that gap, we can really go strong and try and end the season strong and try and go rectify the rungs from last season. What's your thoughts, Jack?
No, I agree. I think, you know, the other thing as well, it's kind of quite open this year, the FA Cup. 4 of the sort of the traditional 6 power hitters are all out, aren't they? There's only the 2 Manchester clubs left in. Obviously, Villa are still in, Newcastle.
They're inconsistent.
Yeah, absolutely. And,
I think it's wide open, the FA Cup.
It is. And you know, we were having this conversation yesterday, and a few people were sort of saying to me, you know, the FA Cup's not important. The FA Cup is so important to English football. You know, it predates the Football League and the Premier League and all the, you know, so we have to kind of really cherish and treasure the FA Cup and treat it with the respect, you know. And I think our managers in recent times have done that. You know, Vitor's picked a relatively strong team in the 2 games, considering we were playing lower league opposition in both those games. He could have made far more changes than he did. So I think that's a positive sign. Though I think there'll be 1 or 2 changes. Again, it depends on sort of Tuesday's game, doesn't it? If anyone picks up a knock or different bits and pieces. So, but yeah, I think we can go there and have a real good go. It's obviously it's a cup game, so there's no draw. So you kind of, both teams will have to play for the win, which might make it a slightly different game to yesterday. Obviously, they'll be sort of gunning for revenge because obviously we've kind of put a bit of a dent in their season.
Start in the week.
Brighton.
Away?
Possibly, yeah. I know they've got Brighton. I don't know if it's home or away.
Is that Tuesday or Wednesday?
Might be sure. Tuesday. I think there's a full programme Tuesday, but I'd have to have a look.
Yeah.
Just having a look now on BBC Sport. Let's have a look. Tuesday. So interesting. Yeah, they play Bournemouth on the Tuesday as well, but it does Tuesday and Wednesday games, so they're playing on the Tuesday, same as us. Interestingly enough.
Yeah. So you know, it's a 50-50 game for me. Really, it's kind of who turns up on the day and applies themselves better to.
What's your response to this, Jack? Mr. Cheerful here. No, Dave, the only requirement is out of it is survival. A cut run could cause injuries we don't need.
No, I understand that, but ultimately the flip side is a cup run increases confidence. It gives players more time to play together and understand each other. And there's both ways you can look at it. I just want to see Wolves winning games of football, whether that's the league games, cup games, whatever. So I'm never going to go into a game going, it doesn't really matter if we lose today. But I understand that and to your point at the start, we were having that exact conversation. Would you rather win the league game or the cup game? And it was overwhelmingly in favour of the league game. So I think, a little bit of pressure has been taken off next week now, because we've got the result that I think a lot of people would have preferred out of the two. And yeah, absolutely, why not win both? But I think, we've kind of got to go there and play with a little bit of freedom and try and enjoy the occasion. And you get through. You're in the quarterfinal.
Well, the thing that I would say to Mr. Cheerful Chris is, why can't we have a cup run? And I don't buy into this absolute crap that, they might pick up injuries. They could pick up injuries in the warm-up. They can pick up injuries in training. They play football every day. And trust me, when you watch them play, they tackle. They can pick up injuries any day. Not just in 90 minutes. I don't get this. Like when people come out, they could get injured. They could get injured anytime in training. So that's just, I just think that's daft to say, like, personally, that they could get an injury. That's my thoughts on that. Chelsea, what's your take?
Well, I'd say if you're not going into every game trying to win, what's the point of playing football? I don't think you want to retire going, I survived in the Premier League. I think you want a cup, don't you? I think Wolves are playing at home against Fulham, so we're not having to travel. I think that's a massive help. FA Cups are, like Jack said, 50-50. Why not go for it? Put your best side out in the first half and see if we can get a goal or 2 goals ahead and try and hold on to it. They're professional footballers. They live and breathe football every day. You're telling me they can't do 2 games in a week? Come on.
Well,
let's not be negative. Let's not be negative.
I mean, everyone's entitled
Why
to
don't
their
we go
opinion.
for it? Well, obviously the league is the most important. Yeah, the league is the most important, but we've got an important win. We've got a 5-point gap, 5-point cushion. Get the win against Fulham and get the momentum. I think momentum in football is everything. You need momentum.
I agree. I just don't buy into we might get injuries if they play them in that game. It's like
the FA Cup's so open. There's literally City and United. I'm looking at you've got Villa, you've got Cardiff, Palace, Millwall, Fulham, Newcastle, Brighton, Nottingham, Ipswich, Plymouth. This could actually be really exciting for us. And
we haven't had a lot of excitement. So look, we might get knocked out of the cup. But, like, I'd rather get knocked out of the cup having a go than, like, let's just give it up. Because we've only got 3 things as a club we can win. The League Cup, we're out. We're not going to win the Premier League. We're not in Europe. And if you do win the cup, I'm not saying that we will because the odds are stacked against. But if you do win it, you do get Europe. And that could certainly help with keeping some players in the summer as well. So there's a lot of these things to think of. So, like, I can understand the argument of saying, we need to focus on the league because we need the points. I understand that, but I don't buy the argument they might get injured because you can get injured in training. That's the bit I don't.
They're not travelling down to Fulham, travelling down to Bournemouth. So we might as well use it as an opportunity. And considering the teams that are left in it, it's probably one of the most open FA Cups there's been in a while, so why not go for it? I don't think footballers become footballers just to survive the league. If they're not going to go for it, what's the point? The fans need to have fun about it.
Chris, if you want to come on and talk about this, I'll send you the link. You're saying we've got more chance of going down than winning the cup. It's like every game that we win, we've got more chance of doing the other thing, haven't we? I mean, come on. It's like, honestly, I'm a glass half full. I'm like, let's look on the positive. Winning breeds confidence. You win a game, it breeds confidence. The fans have had nothing to get excited about this season. So, like, we can get through to a quarter-final, get a home draw and have a chance to get to Wembley again. What an end to the season that would be. we've got to start. We're all talking here that we believe we're 5 points clear. We've got 7 home games out of the next 12. You know, we need 3 more wins out of 12 games. And you're saying, like, we've got more chance of getting... We could go down. But you're basically waiting on Leicester to do what they did a few years ago and go on a big run, or Ipswich, and us to fall off a cliff. And I'd say the odds are, when we looked at the Opta thing, I did an Opta video earlier on in the week. It had Southampton at 99.9% down, which is probably even more now. It had Leicester at something like 91%. It had Ipswich at 88%. It had us at 17%. Since then, they've all lost and we've won. So, like, I'd say the odds we've probably got better odds at this, but probably even odds on both. Anyway, any last thoughts on that, Jack or Hoops, on the FA Cup? Do you think he should just not worry about the cup, or do you think he should go as strong as possible next weekend, regardless?
I think he'll go strong, as you said. He's done that already. I suspect he'll retain Johnston, because he's sort of hinted at that, hasn't he, for the cup game. But outside of the goalkeeping situation, it will be strong. I don't want to sound too overconfident, because someone can click this up in East Anglia or on the south coast, but I do think we're fine. I really do, and I don't think it's going to be a huge detriment to our season by playing a strong side, against Bournemouth. Look, in reality, if it was, I don't know, the League Cup third round against a lower league opposition, then you could maybe make a case and go, okay. But as you're advancing this far into the competition against a Premier League side, then absolutely we've got to go strong. And I would be gutted, and I don't expect it if he rests players. But But to be honest, even if he alternates, it's not too bad, because we've got some good competition here. This could be a good game for Nasser to kind of come in, maybe have a start. Tommy Doyle might get a start. So I still think it'll be a good side, even if he does rotate. But I see little change. And why does he need to do this change? Because actually, you could make an argument that some of the performances in the cup have had a knock-on effect to the league. So I think he'll go strong. And why not? And as you've all said, there's an opportunity here. We're a few games away potentially from a final.
Well, exactly. Exactly. I just think, we've got to start having we've had a lot of down this year. Why not have a little bit of positive, a little belief? The players seem to be playing with more confidence. We seem to be playing more of a team. We're in a better position. Why can't we have a little bit of joy and a little bit of hope? What's the whole point if you're in a competition and you're just going to surrender it? What's the point of that? What's the point of giving up? It's like, I just find, and I'll just, I will put the link on here, in the chat. So if Mr. Chris wants to come on and make his point so he can be heard rather than the text, the link's there. I'll even send him a little WhatsApp. Hold on. And he can come on and clarify his point if he likes to do that, because he's more than welcome.
I think the other thing as well, Dave, I don't know how everyone else feels. When you've got the FA Cup draw being done in the middle of the one show, I'm not sure how seriously the FA actually take it anymore. And if we as fans start sort of dismissing the FA Cup, then it will disappear eventually. I've said for a long time now, my fear is that things like the League Cup will end up being played abroad, and teams will have their under 21s playing in it instead of their first teams and things like that. We can't let the FA Cup become any more devalued than it already has been. And we as a football club and as supporters, we've got a role to play in that by taking it seriously, trying to win, playing a strong team, selling out our allocation, whether it's, 1,900 at Bournemouth or 4,000 at Blackburn, and really sort of getting behind the importance and the magic of the cup. You watch Birmingham Newcastle in the last round. What a fantastic game of football that was. You see Plymouth knocking Liverpool out in the last round. What a fantastic!
Oh, that was magical. That was.
It's
We're on the
brilliant,
way back, and we were like, "Come on, Plymouth!
Yeah.
Come on, Plymouth!"
Yeah, and if we kind of just go, oh well, I'd rather finish, 7. I don't want Cunha getting injured and all this. Then it will sort of slide into obscurity, and we can't let that happen. We just can't let it happen. We've got to let the FA Cup stay as such an important cornerstone of English football.
Yeah, I'd add to that as well. Like the League Cups allow smaller teams to have the opportunity to get silverware. I'm so sick and tired of seeing teams like Man City and Liverpool winning every bloody League Cup. It's an opportunity for smaller teams to have a chance, and even getting to Wembley is something to be excited about. And I absolutely agree with you. When I think of the FA Cup as one of the best tournaments in the world, I absolutely love it, and it matters. And just because people in the FA and people want to make Champions League more important, it's all about the fans. If the fans choose not to care about the league and make more care about the FA Cup, that's what matters. So why not go for it? It's a cup at the end of the day. You don't watch football for just the league in hoping to get 3 points. You want to win trophies and you want to celebrate with your team. Why not?
Well, exactly. And I mean, everyone was like, we revert back to the statement. The statement earlier in the season, there's certain people, and we all agree when the statement come out in the Express and Star, that column, if you want to win trophies or qualify for Europe, Wolves might not be the team for you. And when you suck the hope out, but then when you get supporters that come out and say, well, it's not important, we don't want to win it, let's just not play a weakened team so we can just focus on staying up. We want to stay up because the Premier League is the golden goose. We need to stay up. But like, you cannot, for me, like if you're in a competition for a club like Wolves or any of the other Premier League, if you're in that competition, you got, like what you say, 4 out of the so-called big 6 that are out. Man City and Man United are so inconsistent. Any one of those teams that are left in it pretty much can go on and win the cup this year. So why not? So, I'm all for it. Matthew's put a super chat here. Mentioned it before, Dave. Any year Eagles win the Super Bowl, Wolves win a trophy. It's penciled in. The FA Cup winners 2025, get the cabinet ready. I think he's basically saying the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2018 and Wolves won the championship. So I'd love that to come true as well. So I'm just like want to now just we're going to go on to Q&A. Question and answer for the chat. So if you've got any questions for any of them before we finish tonight, and the other thing I just want to present and share the screen is that if you want to read some fantastic Wolves content, check out alwayswolves.co.uk. We've got a team of amazing writers that do so much content. You can see all the content, the Wolves fans' contributions, lots of fans there, match reports, fan reactions, key takeaways. This is like the player ratings here that we've got on there, which has been done this week. Obviously, this is an individual's opinion. This has been done by Michael Lucas. And then we've got, which is absolutely brilliant, this one, another great article here, 6 key takeaways from Bournemouth 0, Wolves 1. Read this one. Finally, an opportunity taken. Momentum must continue. The other Brazilian ain't bad either. Confidence is more important than ability. Pedro Lima might be a bit special. Some issues with the new guys, and it was Vitor's day. That was by Dave Porter. He was right well. Some really good long depth articles that we have on there. So if you've not bookmarked alwayswolves.co.uk, please do that. Let's have a look, see if we've got any questions. I'm just reading down here. Yeah, it was. Where have I got? Right, here we go. Kasarabian, what is the panel's greatest memory of a live FA Cup game with Wolves?
Shall I go first? God, there's been some good ones. I don't want to bring up the FA Cup semi-final, but you know, that bar the result was 45 minutes was amazing. But to think of a win, the one that probably springs to mind, because it was one of my earliest FA Cup memories and one of my sort of earliest, arguably one of my earlier away games, was when Wolves beat Leeds at Eltham Road, and you might remember the missed penalty and Don Goodman scoring. So that was quite a special one, because at the time Leeds were kind of one of the favourites for the cup. So that stands out. And also notable mentions, I won't take too many just in case the others have similar ones, but Newcastle at home as well was a great one in the cup as well.
Oh, great one. Okay, Jack?
Yeah, was the Newcastle one when Mark Kennedy scored? Was it that one?
Yeah.
That was a fantastic. That was probably one of my favourite ever games. That one. It was a bitterly cold January, wasn't it? It was Alan Shearer and Craig Bellamy and Lauren Robert.
He pointed to the badge, didn't he? And
yeah, and we just did them over, didn't we? Paul Ince and Irwin, and it was that team, wasn't it? Last year at the Hawthorns was a pretty fun day out, wasn't it? You know, that shows you how important the FA Cup is to everybody, doesn't it? And then obviously that Man United quarter final the other year was just a special day, wasn't it? I was involved with the display in the South Bank, and we'd sort of put it out the Friday night before, and then we'd had heavy wind and it was strewn across the pitch Saturday morning, so we all had to pile in on Saturday morning and put it all out and everything. So I think me and a few others, we were at Molineux for sort of 13 hours that day. But yeah, that was a fantastic day. And again, it just shows you what's possible when you have that belief. And as our former manager used to say, dreaming is for free.
Absolutely. Loving Chelsea.
I feel let's go for a recent one. I enjoyed beating West Brom last year. It was one of my favourites, I think. For sure.
Absolutely. I really love that Man United game. That quarter-final was a special night, that was. And we want a bit more of that. Obviously, the game against Coventry wasn't so special last year when we had such an opportunity. And obviously, it all went downhill. Then I think there's rights that need to be run. But obviously, we'll see what happens at the weekend. The question for the panel. Quick one, yes, no. Will Kuna stay at the club this summer? Hoops?
No.
No. Jack?
No.
Chelsea?
I'm going to be positive, yes, for one more year.
Oh, I like it. Matthew, Paul's got a question for you. What's the next Lego set on the horizon?
Oh, the Formula One. It's already on pre-order.
Love it. You do love your Formula One.
I do.
Carl, question to the panel as far as in the Premier League. Go on, you can go with this, Jack. What players would you like to take from the bottom three sides?
That's a Mick McCarthy one, that isn't it? Just get Stephen Hunt and stuff like that. I think Delap's a good striker for Ipswich. I do think he's a good powerhouse finisher. I like him. I mean, the romantic in me would have Connor Cody back as a squad option and an influence in the dressing room. But there's a reason that they're getting relegated, and it's the quality of the players, isn't it? So I'd be sort of very wary of just raiding and plundering the relegated sides.
Yeah, it's a very, very good point, that is. Rebecca says she was watching the West Brom game in the pub with Brian and his family. A great day. Absolutely fantastic. Let's just run through. What do you think of Vitor Pereira? Hoops asking Tommy Doyle to play further forward.
I mean, I'm a self-confessed Tommy Doyle fan. I really like him. So I think an opportunity for him to get, gain time is fantastic. We hear that he's been quite receptive to that. So hopefully, perhaps in the cup the weekend, we might be able to see that. So he's got the attributes, he's got the attributes to be, potentially maybe a 10 or just off that as a more forward-thinking player. So I can kind of see the logic, but he'll need a run of games. But yeah, if there's an opportunity for him to get more games, then I'd be interested to see how he starts in a more advanced position. And as I say, perhaps the cup game might be an ideal opportunity to see if that works for him or not.
Absolutely. I think like we have whatever, we've got some options definitely in the cup. Like you can still be fairly strong, but you don't have to make 11 changes, do you? So it'd be interesting. Chelsea, do you think Vitor Pereira will get the back on the board in the summer? Should we stay up?
God, what a question. I think he'll get two signings, maybe two or three signings. But from the January transfer window, we've got Agbadu, which is good. Minetti looks okay, so I don't see why not. I think we got some 2 players in. Well,
Absolutely.
I hope so. I think it's more hope than fact, I think.
Jack, thoughts on this from Ellie? Do you think Johnson will still be here next season, and how does the Kuna release clause work? Do we choose who he joins or him?
So a release clause, effectively, I'm not sure 100% on what the figure is, but any club that offers us that specific figure, we have to accept that offer, and then it's down to Cunha and more specifically his agent, which offer they decide to go with. So we don't have very little say on who he joins. They'll all have to offer very attractive contracts and signing on fees and etc. So it's obviously it favours the player and certainly the agent as well. But in terms of Johnston, it's a bit of a conundrum, isn't it? Because Sarr's been much improved under Vitor. He seems to have got his mojo back, if you like, in terms of he understands his role a little bit better and he's able to come off his line. Johnson obviously left Crystal Palace to come to Wolves to be number 1, and that hasn't happened. So he's probably looking at his options and thinking, well, if I'm going to be number 2 for a year again, then that's not for me. And then we're back in the situation where Bentley and King are your backups who, let's be brutally honest, aren't good enough. So it's whether we can kind of persuade the 2 goalkeepers to stay, or whether we go into the market for another option and one or both of Sarr and Johnson move on. It'll be interesting, because I think, like Chelsea said there, if we don't get too many players in, then I think our priority in the summer is going to be the forward line, because I do think Cunha will go. I think Sarabia won't renew his contract. I've got a feeling that one of Guedes and Wang will move on as well. So we're going to have to put a lot of resources into that forward line for next season, and we don't necessarily want to be having to put resources in the goalkeeping situation. So it's going to be interesting how they handle that one.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, if these players go, which, the likes of Cunha and go, it's a lot of quality. And what you don't want to be in a situation is, because I think the teams that are going to come up this year as well are probably going to be stronger, because they've not long been Premier League clubs. Like it looks like Leeds is going to come back up. They might come back stronger this year. Sheffield United, Burnley, although Burnley don't score many goals, although they did get a 4-0 the other day, they don't concede many. But we played Burnley, didn't we, in the cup, and we scored 2, and it was such an easy game that day. But I think it's going to be a massive summer, because I think everyone is expecting that Cunha will go. They've also, interestingly, haven't they? They've changed the. I think someone said recently they've put back the account's end date from the end of May to the end of June, and I think they've done that because they need to sell some players. Obviously, they spent a bit in this thing, and the Cunha, to give Cunha the Cunha thing more time to go. There might be 8 Nori might go. I hope Joe Gomez doesn't go. What we don't want as well, sell the spine of the team out of underneath us. They've got to be very, very clever with what we do. And they've got to make sure that they bring in a proven striker, a proven striker, and make sure that the forward line. I think the back line next year is going to be strong. If we've got Yerson Mosquera coming back, Agbadu, Doc will still do a job. Santiago Bueno, Deja, the back line I think will be good. Hugo Bueno will hopefully come back, although there's a lot of interest apparently from him because he's obviously doing Champions League. But hopefully Hugo Bueno will come back into the team, having all that experience at Feyenoord and Champions League. Pedro Lima's starting to have a few cameos. the midfield. You know, we've got the building blocks potentially of a really, really good side that under Vitor Pereira, if they get the summer window right, and we do stay up and we get the summer window right, then who's to say that next year we can't be pushing back up for a European place or a lot higher up the league? Because I don't think we're that far off, but it depends on what happens with the summer. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens with that. I'm just having a quick look to see if there's any other questions before we finish. I can't see any. Lee Cooper says, Hoops, how about Jamie Vardy on a 12-month deal?
Hello to Coops as well. Long time no speak. Absolutely lovely bloke. That's an interesting one, isn't it, really? His last swan song. I mean, I watched Leicester the other day, actually, and Vardy's still got that turn of pace. He's still fueled by his cans of Red Bull and stuff. So that wouldn't be kind of the worst. It's not a long-term signing, but I wouldn't be against that. Who knows? Yeah. To have him on reserve maybe as a kind of a squad player for 12 months probably wouldn't be the worst deal in the world, no. So I like Vardy. I think he's a character. So and I think he has still got it, but obviously he's going towards the twilight of his career. So depends how motivated he is. But in reserve, a Jamie Vardy to kind of be a nuisance, I don't think it's a bad option to have.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't see it anyway. I think he'll finish his career probably at Leicester. But then Cody went to Leicester, didn't he? But I don't know. I think he'll probably end up. I think Vardy's at 38, 39. If Leicester go down, he'll continue to ply his training in the Championship. I don't think he'll end his career as a Leicester legend, won't he? And you know, he'll probably become one of their version of Stevie Bull for what he's achieved. Just final thoughts from everyone. Then thank you ever so much for everyone that's joined in the chat. Thank you if you've hit the subscribe button today. We've not long gone past 36,000, so much appreciate it. Final thoughts, Chelsea. Give us a sentence for the rest for the week. A little bit of your final thoughts.
A positive weekend all round. We got a win. Teams losing around us. We push on Tuesday, get that win, and then try and put a good team for the FA Cup as well. Keep momentum going for next week.
Absolutely. Hoops.
Look, we've had a pretty grim season, haven't we, if we're honest, and we're going to probably end up a little bit lower than we would have liked. However, and this is the big one really, I feel like we're a different club and team than the one we were, you know, maybe 6-8 weeks ago. So reasons to be positive how I would sum it up at the moment. I think we could have a good end of the season and just enjoy winning football matches again as well. And we've got the cup to go for. So I think there's plenty of reasons to be positive.
Absolutely. And Jack, finally from you.
Yeah, we're in a much stronger position than we were. Time to kind of galvanise everybody, get behind the team on Tuesday night. Like I said, those midweek games, it tends to be a bit flatter at Molineux. Let's not have that. Let's get behind them. Let's make it a really important game. And let's see what we can do between now and the end of the season.
Absolutely. And you know what, mate? You've got to be positive. The fans have got a big part to play. There's been it's been a tough old season. There's been heated debates on here, lots of disagreements, angriness, real upset, meltdowns. You know, we've been through the ringer. We've been, you know, the fans have been really disenfranchised with the team. We're lucky in a lot of respects that right at this point in time that Vitor Pereira has come in and the way he's dealt with the entire situation, the way he's dealt with the players, the way I love that he doesn't make excuses. He talks about my players and us and identity, unlike Gary that used to put the excuses in before. I mean, I know someone mentioned he might go to Blackburn. I said, I can't imagine him going to Blackburn. Gary O'Neill, that's even further north than Wolves, and he'll want a club down south, and he probably will. He will get back into management at some point. But I think Vitor Pereira, he seems he's got something about him. The players are buying into it. We look more of a team. Confidence is coming. There will be questions to be asked at the end of the season in terms of like the investment again. And we can, it's been a massive scare for the club and hopefully the leadership of this club that if we survive this year, it's, we've got away with it, but you can't keep not investing and moving forward and thinking, oh, it'll be okay. You've got to learn from these lessons. And if they don't get it right in the summer, we could be back in the same place again. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Let's hope that we win on Tuesday and the gap gets to 8 points. Let's have a great end to the season. Why not a cup run? It would be a fantastic end to what has been an awful season. We've been through not just this season, but from January last year, probably before that, getting on for sort of 15 months. It's been awful. It's been hard being a Wolves fan. So let's hope that we have a much happier end to the season and a brighter future ahead. And the fans are going to have a big part to play. And they played a big part at the weekend at Bournemouth. It was really, really great to see. So, yeah, from all of us to all of you, I hope you've enjoyed it. 90 minutes of chat. Thanks for joining in the conversation with your opinions. I think Carl said there's 92 likes at the moment on the video, so hit that. If you're new, subscribe. Thank you. If you're listening to back on the podcast, make sure that you bookmark us. And until the next one, from Chelsea Hoops, Howler, and the voice of reason, Jack, always Wolves.
Always Wolves.